Hello and welcome to Classic Vinyl Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Justin. I'm once again joined by my other host, Tyler.
I'm so glad to be here.
Once again, you always say you're glad to be here.
I am glad to be here. This is a treat for me to come over to your studio, put on the headphones, put this microphone in my face, and banter.
And listen to some tunes.
Well, there's that. Then we banter. Yeah.
Of course, here on Classic Vinyl Podcast, we listen to and review songs and albums from the classic vinyl era of the 60s and 70s, and today we're on to Foghat. I Just Want to Make Love to You. I'm telling you that's the name of the song.
Oh, well, you're entitled to your opinion, man.
Well, why don't we get into a little history on Foghat right away?
Let's do it.
So Foghat, they're an English rock band. They were formed in London way back in 1971. Now, the band has kind of an interesting history because they were formed out of a former British band named Savoy Brown. Dave Peverett, Roger Earl, and Tony Stevens, they joined Savoy Brown in 1967, but there was many internal conflicts within the band, so those three decided to form their own band. Rod Phillips joined the other three, and that band became Foghat. Foghat's first recordings were all off-the-cuff jams, basically remix of old blues and rockabilly tunes, and they actually released them under the name Warren Phillips and the Rockets originally. I'm not sure why, but you had Dave Peverett on vocals and guitars, Tony Stevens on bass, Roger Earl on drums, Rod Price on guitars, and a lot of slide guitar, which the band's very well known for the use of. They actually picked up the band name Foghat. It's basically a nonsense word that was created by Dave Peverett and his brother during a game of Scrabble.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not even a Warren Phillips in the band.
Yeah, I know. That's what's kind of strange.
Foghat makes just as much sense.
So the band overall has released a total of 17 studio albums, 8 live albums, 7 compilation albums, and 19 singles. In the U.S. here, they had 8 studio albums in the top 100, 6 of those being in the top 50. Their 1975 album, Fool for the City, which is probably by far their most popular album, hit number 23. I couldn't find any information on albums in the UK, so I don't know if they just didn't have success or what, but I did find some in Canada. They had 6 of their albums hit the top 100, with only 2 of them hitting the top 50. Their 1978 album titled Stone Blue was their top charting album in the Canadian charts at number 21. Their 1977 live album, Foghat Live, did hit number 5 in Canada and number 11 in the U.S., and it is 2 times platinum. So that's actually their highest charting album in either country.
But they didn't have any stats from the UK, huh?
I couldn't find any. I'm sure the albums were sold over there. I don't know if they just didn't chart or what.
Maybe they've got disowned.
Yeah, they could have.
It was because they were too direct in their lyrics.
That could have been it too. But I think the UK was always ahead of us in those kind of things.
Seems like it.
But in the U.S., as far as singles are concerned, they had 10 singles in the top 100, with only one of those singles cracking the top 20. And that's probably by far their most popular song and played on the radio the most, which is Slow Ride. It hit number 20. In Canada, they only had 2 singles in the top 100, with this song, I Just Want to Make Love to You, being their top charting in the Canadian charts at number 31. This band has sold about 7 million albums worldwide, which isn't too bad.
Yeah.
So Tony Stevens left the band in 1974, Rod Price left the band in 1980, and Dave Peverett left the band in 1984. There were multiple versions of Foghat in the 80s and 90s, with Peverett actually formed a new version of the band in 1990 called Lonesome Dave's Foghat, which that's kind of an interesting way around that. But in 1993, the original band formed again and made a new studio album. In 2000, founding members Peverett and Price both actually died the same year, and they brought in new people to replace them. The band Foghat's still touring to this day, although the only original member is drummer Roger Earl. Do you want to get to the song review?
Yeah, let's do the song review.
And now it's time for the song review.
So, Tyler, before I get to the details of the song, I know you've probably heard this one before, but what is your history with this song?
Yeah, this song's all over classic rock radio. This is quintessential classic rock song.
Do you listen to a lot of classic rock radio?
Yeah.
Because I hear you saying that a lot. You know, a lot of
Do
these
now.
songs that you haven't heard.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't, but the
Yeah.
ones you have heard, you say it's all over classic rock radio. So that's something that you've started listening to a lot more.
Well, let me put it this way. When you go into car parts stores or truck parts stores, some of the different places that I frequent, it's on the radio a lot.
Yeah, so you've obviously heard it.
And it's because it's, this is kind of universally appropriate for customers, for employees.
Yeah.
It's friendly. I mean,
Yeah, I just want to make love to you.
yeah, that's because nobody's really paying attention to the lyrics.
But I'm guessing you had no idea this was Foghat.
I would never know the band by its name. Although when you mentioned like some of its other hit, "Fool for the City" and
Slow Ride,
I hear it.
Well, let me give you a little history on the song. I just want to make love to you.
Mhm.
I'm not, once again, I'm just saying that's the song.
Everybody's got to scratch their itch however they do, man.
That's true. So this was originally an old blues song written by Willie Dixon and released as a single in 1954 by Muddy Waters. The song was actually called Just Make Love to Me. Now, it has pretty much the same lyrics. They're arranged a little bit different. We did listen to that version, too, which is quite a bit different.
Yeah, it is.
And instead of slide guitar and a little wah guitar in there with the double-tracked vocals like you get with Foghat, you've got Muddy Waters singing, and you've got an ear-shattering harmonica in it that we both had to turn the sound down because it was ear-piercing.
He was blowing that thing right into the dang microphone, I swear.
But a good song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that version.
Yeah, it's what's kind of cool about it is Foghat took it and made it something completely different.
Yeah. Muddy Waters has this soulful voice that, I mean, it just really, you believe it when he's singing this song.
Yeah.
And I'll get into that when we do the review, my feelings about it. But man, I really like that one.
So the Foghat version was released on June 5th of 1972. It was on their self-titled debut album that was released on July 8th of 1972. Now, what's kind of interesting about this band is their second album was self-titled as well. So they had two self-titled albums in a row. And I think how a lot of fans discern between the two is the second one on the cover, there is a picture of a rock and then like a dinner roll.
Oh,
so
for real?
Rock and roll. Yeah, so that's how people kind of discern between the two. But kind of strange that a band had two self-titled albums in a row.
Somebody in this band has a sense of humor, and I'm thinking I may have rated this lower than I should have.
So their debut self-titled album, it did reach number 127 on the U.S. charts, which isn't really great, but it is certified gold by the RIAA with over 500,000 copies sold. It was recorded at Rockfield Studio in Wales in early 1972 and produced by Dave Edmunds, which anybody knowing classic rock radio, Dave Edmunds has had a pretty decent solo career himself. I Hear You Knocking is probably his most famous song. Edmunds also plays guitars on Foghat's debut album. So as this was recorded, you've got Dave Peverett on vocals and guitars, Rod Price on guitars, Tony Stevens on bass, Roger Earl on drums, and you've got a bunch of other session musicians on this album, including a couple famous ones, Todd Rundgren and Colin Earl, who was from the band Mungo Jerry. Now, the vocal on this song, that's probably one of the most interesting things. I mean, I like this song, and we'll get into that, but it's a distorted sound, but I think it's a double vocal where one of the vocals is distorted. I'm not sure, but that's kind of the way it sounds to me. It's distorted in some way. Don't know if that was done on purpose or not, but they obviously kept it that way, and it's a pretty cool sounding vocal.
Yeah, it does have like a little bit of a reverberation in it.
Yeah, and part of it's kind of fuzzy sounding, like there's some kind of distortion on it. So Foghat's version of this single did reach number 83 in the U.S. charts, but it did not chart in either UK or Canada. And it's kind of strange because this song is still played so heavily on classic rock radio. You said it earlier, is you don't know that it's Foghat, but you know this song because this song's featured a lot of places. But one thing about this song is the live version off their 1977 double platinum hit, Foghat Live, that I was talking about when I was telling you the history of the band. The live version did reach number 33 in the US charts and number 28 in Canada. So the live version actually had a little more success. And the song's been covered by a number of people. Etta James, Mungo Jerry, the Rolling Stones, among others. I think where I probably was first introduced to this song, I'm sure I heard it before that, but this is another song off the Dazed and Confused soundtrack, which is one of my favorite movies. I love the music on that thing. In fact, just a few episodes ago, we did Head East. There's Never Been Any Reason, another song that's a really good one from about the same time period, both off of the Dazed and Confused soundtrack. After listening to Foghat, I just want to make love to you for the first time, fully knowing who it is and with the purpose to listen to it and review it. What are your thoughts on this song?
I think that in the words of the great Marty McFly, I guess those kids weren't ready for this, or I guess those guys weren't ready for this song when it came out, but their kids were going to love it.
Well, hell, it came out in 1954.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty, for 1954 Victorian priority.
Yeah, maybe it suits the blues.
It does suit the blues, and this song really does. So it's got this really cool bass open, and then you got the drums and the cymbals that start in with the bass, and then the guitar starts strumming in. The guitar, when the guitar comes in, it gives you kind of this howling sound.
And that's the slide guitar.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I really liked it. I liked the effect that it gave. It was like almost haunting. It was just like a howl of this guitar, just almost like it's in pain. And that's kind of what you get when you're in love in a situation like this, right? It hurts way down deep in your gut. You want it so bad.
Well, let me correct you there. You say he's in love, but
he's not in love.
He's not in love.
No.
Listen to the lyrics.
He's in
not
lust.
He's in lust.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing about this, and what I liked about the Muddy Waters one, is because he may be saying something, but he's saying I love you without saying I love you. In fact, but with it very explicitly saying I don't love you. I just want to bang you.
Yeah.
When Muddy Waters sings it, it comes across so, like, because of the feeling and the soul behind it, I'm just like, that's a very loving thing to say. But with these guys, it's just like, no, baby, I don't want to tie you down. I don't want to make you bake my bread. You're not going to cook for me. You don't have to clean for me. You don't have to pay me money or anything. I just want to bang you. It's very direct. I'll tell you, this kid, he's, not mincing any words. Very direct. I mean, in a very polite way. I would like to make love to you, lady. The lyrics in this one, I couldn't make it out exactly if he said this, but Muddy Waters said it very explicitly. I see the way you love your man. And he's like, so he's going after a lady who's in a relationship with somebody else. And I'm sure that lyric's probably tucked in here because
it is.
Yeah. Muddy Waters, I think there was only one, it seemed like it was just one verse that he sang, and then it was over. But this one, it kind of split that one verse up and embellished it into a couple of different verses. Yeah, but with that constant tie together, I just want to make love to you. Yeah, he's very direct about that. He's not looking to tie her down or anything, but he sees the way she walks. He likes the way that she looks, and he doesn't even need her to be faithful to him in return. He doesn't want anything. No expectations. He just wants to get naked and do the nasty.
Yeah, I don't want you to be true.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird to hear it. It's so straightforward and in your face, but there is kind of a, what is this? I guess because of the tenderness of the way of he phrases it, of make love to you. Maybe that's why it's gotten so much popularity in radio play, because this is a very explicit song for radio, I think. And I guess that's why, those guys weren't ready for it in 1954, but their kids were going to love it. What do you think about this one, Justin?
This song is right down my alley. I think the early 70s songs for me, the mixing is so well in them and the guitar is strong in it. And if you've listened to this podcast, I like guitar, but starting with the lyrics, I don't want you to cook my bread. I don't want you to make my bed. You said it. He just wants to make love to you. And that's how every verse keeps going through, But that one thing you pointed out is you see the way you love your man. And that kind of makes you wonder, what is he doing? Is he going is he going after a married woman or at least a woman that's taken? I don't know. But he only wants one thing. But as far as the song, like you said, the bass to start is great. It goes into those intro guitar licks, which I really like. I think the guitar is very, very strong throughout this song the whole way through. I think the vocal is also one of the best things, that double vocal with a little bit of reverb or whatever they've done to it. I really like it. The guitar in the verses, I especially like. There's some little guitar licks after that are good. It's got good drumming and bass throughout. The one thing about halfway through the song, it's got some dueling guitar solos, which I think really are cool. I really like when you have dueling guitar solos because I love the guitar, and so it's good to hear that. The wah on the guitar, they use the wah-wah pedal a little bit at the very end. It has that solo that takes it out, and they're dueling once again. The song's mixed really well. I think everything in the song's good. This has always been a top-notch song for me. I like Foghat-I's hits. I've dove into a couple of their albums. I need to dive deeper into them because they're a band that kind of reminds me of Grand Funk Railroad a little bit, that has been forgotten to time and has some good music that people just simply haven't discovered. They certainly weren't as popular as Grand Funk Railroad was, and once again, if you listen to this podcast, you know Grand Funk's another one of my favorite bands. We've done a few of their songs, I think an album of theirs. And so just a very solid song overall. And I think the thing that shines the most is the guitar and the lyrics and the mixing of the song because it's very powerful. So do you want to get the song rating?
Let's rate it.
Song rating.
All right, listener, if this is your first episode, I'll briefly explain our rating system. It's a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the best. I put this one surprisingly low for me. I probably would have bumped it up by 2 points if there wasn't the fact that for the extra lyrics, it takes away the poeticness of the message. Just hearing Foghat sing about it, I haven't even given my rating yet. It's a 6 is where I put this one. I put it at a 6. I probably would have given it an 8 because the music, the instruments, perfect. It sounds so beautiful. I love the beat. I love the rhythm. And in fact, the dueling guitars, that's like the poetry that I want to hear coming from the lyrics. But the lyrics are so direct that it just doesn't come across as he's not trying to woo her, which is kind of why I get the dueling guitars trying to play this game of this dance of how do I get your attention and make you want me. But it's just like, with the lyrics being so direct, it's like, oh, I don't want a relationship. I just want to bang you. And that's like all he's trying to do. It's just like, wow, bud. With him, it's just so direct. And I would like a little bit more poetry. And the reason I like that Muddy Waters one is because it sounds like the poetry I want to hear.
But it's the same lyrics. I mean, it really is.
Lyrics. And that's what's so strange about this, Justin. I'm sitting here like, I'm listening to the same lyrics. I'm like, but when Muddy Waters sings it, there's something about the soulfulness of it. There's something about the feeling that he gives behind it that I'm like, that's the poetry. And this guy is just kind of like wailing like a rooster that's like, all right, it's time to bang, And yeah, so Foghat, it's got so many excellent elements in this song, and yet it's just not my cup of tea. But that being said, I completely concede where I am wrong, and our listeners can throw whatever they want at the podcast apparatus that they're listening to this on. I'm so sorry. Justin, where do you put this one?
Well, that's where we're going to differ on this a little bit, and I don't know what our listeners think, but I know what I think. That's the problem with you being a lyric guy, because, I mean, I obviously understand the lyrics. They're straightforward, but this song is right down my alley. I think it's mixed so well. I love the guitars in it. I rate this song a 9. I think it's a very strong song for me. It makes me actually ashamed I don't dive into Foghat a little more because this is my kind of music. Well, at least for today.
Yeah.
But I don't decipher the lyrics quite as deep as you do. and the lyrics for you, if you've listened to this podcast, you know very well, lyrics most of the time make or break a song for you.
Yeah, they do.
And for the longest time, I always knew it was, I just want to make love to you, but I didn't really look into it directly, that he was just, you know what? I don't give a shit about you, woman.
Yeah.
I just want you naked.
And I think I'm being unfair to him because I gotta give props to Foghat for embellishing and expounding on the original version that was by Willie Dixon, that was written by Willie Dixon. They took that and made it their own. They expounded on it in a way that is poetic, and it is like it fits nicely with that original message that he just sings about. So direct.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's the problem with being a lyric guy, right?
I know. I've got a real problem.
So that's Foghat. I just want to make love to you. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, have a song or an album you'd like us to rate, please send us an email at classicvinylpodcast@gmail.com. And like always, we certainly appreciate you taking your time to listen to us. It means a lot. Until next time, we'll see you later.
See ya.
Thank you so much for listening to Classic Vinyl Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Classic Vinyl Podcast for updates, and also share us with your music-loving friends.